Yeah, because they crowned the fastest man alive was
Yeah.
yesterday. I got to watch all that. I watched all that on replay.
Yeah, I watched a lot of that on replay too.
Really, the only thing that I'm actually really, other than like spectacular finishes, such as, what iPad, other than spectacular finishes like the archery final, the singles archery final was pretty awesome. The person that won it by like 3 millimeters. Like it was kind of crazy. But other than that, it's women's gymnastics and the distance running are the ones that I'm actually like interested in. So, but that includes like the triathlon, like the team triathlon was really crazy last night. That was a good. They go through 4 people, men and women, because it was mixed teams. And at the end of the 4th round, which is the last member, it was a 4-member team. At the end of the 4th round, the number 1 and number 3 person were separated by less than a second.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like watching NASCAR, where they race for 500 miles, and at the end, the person that wins is only 2 inches ahead of the second place person. It's like how that's crazy.
Dang.
But yeah, that was a good show. So yeah, things like that. I like pole vault. Not really interested in that.
Yeah, same.
But it was a close finish, so it was kind of fun. There's Sarah. But yeah,
I keep seeing beach volleyball live. That's what I keep seeing all the time.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes. You're on the wrong mic though.
Yeah.
I'm low?
You're not on your Heil.
Oh, all right. Let's see.
You don't sound like you're on your earbuds either. Almost.
I am, because that's how I hear you, but let's see.
Well, I'm saying it didn't sound like the voice is coming from there.
Oh, speaker. Oh, mic. Yeah, it went to default AirPods. It's never done that once before. Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Yeah.
Now.
It took a second to transition over.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you guys sound louder to me as well.
Weird.
Fantastica.
I certainly hope I didn't record headlines. No, I wouldn't have, because I didn't use my AirPods this morning. Okay, well, whatever.
We would have heard something by now.
Well, someone would have said something. Home for the last couple hours, so.
Oh, that's true.
A lot of feedback always tends to happen when you're, AFK.
I wrote the post in the DTNS Patreon yesterday for the sale going on in the store, and I had to make it interesting for myself, so I added a secret message to it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Some a people secret message, like just for fun, post. Or does it get someone something for solving it?
No, it's just for fun.
Just an Easter egg.
Yeah. Just for those that want to pay attention to how it's written.
I used that term the other day. I don't remember for what. And whoever I said it to was like, Easter? And I was like, no, I mean just something that's like intentionally hidden but supposed to be found. And they were like just blankly looking at me like, no, why is it called an Easter egg? I'm like, because you hide them. I don't know. It just.
Oh, wow. They don't know that term.
They haven't heard that term before. Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
I guess you could call it a variety of things. Well, how's everybody doing?
Easter egg is kind of common like in movies, right? Like, ooh, did you see the Easter egg in that Marvel film? I don't know. But if the person didn't, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's not something that people don't necessarily know, but
it's just it's a term I feel like I just see. Yeah, even if there's not a specific thing I'm supposed to find, it's a reference, anything that's sort of like intentionally obfuscated is it's just a common term.
Yeah.
I remember in Seinfeld the Easter egg was always Superman in the background. They would always move Superman around, but he was always in the background of Jerry's apartment.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
For Friends, it was the dry erase board.
Really?
Yeah, on not the main apartment, the secondary apartment. I was going to say Joey's apartment, but it turned into be a lot of different characters live there. On his apartment door, there's a dry erase board, and
Oh, and it always said something.
it always said something different every episode,
Oh,
or had a
that's
picture
funny.
or whatever.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I never noticed.
Yeah.
And I've seen probably every Friends episode several times.
Same.
Although there was, and I would say that about Seinfeld even more so, there was a Seinfeld episode. I forget. I don't even remember the plot anymore. Because it's like Comedy Central or one of the channels that just will run Seinfeld just
Mm-hmm.
beginning of the series to the end, and then they start over.
They
doing it
start
for
over.
years. Yeah. And there was an episode that I'm like, I've never seen this before. Like maybe it never aired originally. Like it felt like an Easter egg. I was like, this is crazy.
Wow.
How have I not seen this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I didn't remember it anyway.
I never liked Seinfeld. There's a lot of Seinfeld episodes I didn't like or I didn't watch.
I know
like most of them.
I know a handful of people who just have never watched it, and they're like, I got this far in life. I just don't care. I'm not gonna watch it. And then I know people who are like, I just didn't think it was funny. And it's I could see that.
I could see that
the
too.
humor grates on you, it wouldn't be funny.
Yeah.
It's a certain kind of humor.
Yeah.
Two of my cousins who grew up in Switzerland, they had Seinfeld, but it was instead of subtitles, it was dubbed into German. And it did not translate well. They were like, what is this? It's like the German versions of the jokes. They were like, these aren't even jokes. And I'm like,
you mean, what is the deal with these dubs?
Yeah, it's just like you can't, it doesn't work, at least in German. I don't know about other
cultural,
languages,
yeah.
Because it was like the height of like the show was still running. And so like the world knew that it was a really big hit show. And they were like, we just don't,
we don't get it.
It's like American humor. And I'm like, it's a very specific kind, though. I wouldn't say this is like, you would call this American humor, really. I don't even know what that means, but
yeah,
it's a specific kind of joke.
And yet Friends is one of my favorite shows ever.
Oh, yeah. Same.
Yeah. But I didn't like Seinfeld.
I mean, they're really different shows. Yeah. They're different.
There are certain Friends episodes that I see today and I go, that joke didn't age well. Because we're, life is different. Life is different than it was in the mid 90s. But yeah, it's a very beloved show of mine.
Yeah. The cast would probably tell you that too. Like, yeah,
totally. Right.
I think they're pretty self-aware now.
I just recently got fooled by a video that was showing the Friends reunion, and they were gonna like do all these, like everybody's gonna come back and like continue the story and stuff like that. And Ross is gonna have to help Monica because Chandler died, and because all that. Yeah, well, because the actor died, so they couldn't bring him back,
Right,
but
right.
I was like, oh my God, this looks so awesome. And I sent it to my daughter, and my daughter sent it back, said, yeah, it's not real. It's like, damn it.
It's a fan edit, man.
Yeah, I would, if someone was like, do you think this is real? I'd be like, there's no way they're doing that.
It was,
I mean, I watched the reunion that the actors did.
Yeah.
Right.
Which was also sort of strange, but it wasn't supposed to be like fictional. It was just the actors.
I like the fact that there was so much turmoil between the actors on that show, and yet somehow a lot of the stories have still not been told.
Yeah.
We know the guy that played Ross was the one that told everybody to basically unionize the 6 of them and get the same salaries so that the show could continue. It wouldn't be infighting about wages and things like that. But then, like, which one of the people was the one that wanted to continue, and which one was like, no, I'm done with this show. I'm never doing this again. Like, some of those stories haven't been told.
Maybe they may not be.
Yeah.
Well, 6 are 5 now are pretty tight,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I remember that being a big deal when it was like, they had all agreed that they get $1 million per episode each, or they leave.
Mm-hmm.
And the studio was like, okay, like we need the group, all of you. We need all of you. That's some leveraging power.
Yelp, yelp.
You know.
That happened with Brady
Bunch
Bunch
to Tom
apparently?
tomorrow. Tom, $1 million per app, 5 days a week. So if you don't give it to me, I'm walking. I'm just kidding. I'd be like $1 million per 50 years. Okay, that'd be fine. I'll make it work.
You might need to get Roger and Joe in on that deal with you. So you have to have the
there
combined
you go.
power.
Yeah, to really stick it to the man. Yeah.
You notice I tell you to get everybody else on board because I'm clearly not joining that train.
Yeah. We'll get you somehow.
I don't know.
We'll get you somehow. We'll shackle you in. Yeah, you too, Eileen. If we're all going down on this boat, we're doing it together.
That's right.
What do you say we do the show?
That sounds like an idea.
Sorry, I was running a tiny bit late. I had a little a lunch meeting at a place nearby with great paninis. Never been there before. I will return. Yeah.
Nice.
One little spot. Yeah. They have other things, but I got a panini and it was good.
I mean,
all right.
It's like going to a bagel store and they have great bagels. You're not going to be like worrying about anything else they have there. Like, who cares? Like, you go to a panini place, they got good
paninis and like pizzas and some. They had pretty cool looking pasta dishes, but it's just too hot. I'm like, I can't eat hot pasta right now.
Yeah.
But then I got a panini, so what am I doing?
Yeah.
Somehow the felt
hot bread.
You and all your heat concentrated to the middle of
because the panini was like a caprese, so it was like the mozzarella and the arugula and the tomato, like they just pressed it a little at the end. It wasn't really that hot of a sandwich. Okay, I'm done.
All right, you know the deal. I'll disappear, then you can count yourself in.
Okay.
Make sure I got all my stuff right. All right, I'm here, and I do.
Okie doke. In 3, 2. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Apple Vision Show. All things Apple, what it's doing, what we want it to do, how it makes our lives better, and what can be improved on. I'm Sarah Lane.
And I'm Eileen Rivera. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Eileen. How's it hanging?
I've got the AC blasting on me, which what's the date today? August 5th. And it is very hot outside. It's very hot in most of the world that is in the hemisphere that we're in, Northern Hemisphere. But I'm wearing my hoodie because I have the air conditioning like going right at my body.
Oh, man.
So it feels kind of weird. It feels weird. But I guess it's one or the other. Either, you know how it is, like you're outside and maybe you are going to, I don't know, the mall or some sort of shop, and you've got your shorts and your tank top on, and then you go inside and it's like freezing. Oh, I know, even better in the supermarket, right? And you and you're just freezing the frozen section because you don't have that much clothes on, but you know very well once you step back outside it's boiling and you don't want to be wearing a lot of clothes. So
yeah,
that's the conundrum we have at this time of year.
The plight of the AC, totally true. Eileen and I both are in LA. We're just kind of going through a heat wave. It's going to get worse before it gets better. And I have the AC on too, but I have just a couple of window units. It's not central air. So the window unit is not in the room that I am recording this podcast in. It's, there's an open door between me and the room that it is in. So I'm fine. Okay. Yeah. But I wouldn't like, oh, I'm chilly unless I was standing directly in front of it. Right. It cools the house down slowly, but surely. It could definitely do better. But I am totally with you on the grocery store. In fact, it can be 100 degrees outside. And if I'm running into a grocery store or somewhere else that's going to be, I don't know, ice cream shop or whatever, that's for sure going to be blasting the AC for a couple minutes, no big deal. But if I'm going like grocery shopping, like for, a full fridge of groceries, I bring a hoodie with me. Because
you
as soon as I'm
okay,
there,
you put it in your bag. Yeah.
I'm hot. I'm cold. Even in just the vegetable section, the produce, You got the water
like the movie theater.
Cold. Yes, the movie theater.
The movie theater sometimes, they crank up the AC, and not always. But they will, and then you're like in your shorts and tank top, like, oh God, I can't freeze for 2 hours during this. 3 hours now for most movies.
There used to be, it wasn't the screensavers for those of you who are legacy, tech TV fans. Not all of you are, but the ones who are, hello, you know who you are. I don't remember it on the screensavers so much, but in the G4 studio, when I worked on Attack of the Show, that studio, when we were doing the show live, was like an icebox, to the point where
Yeah.
I would complain and tell whoever was the floor manager, like, you've got to turn on the heat a little, or just back off the AC just a little bit. And they would say, but it keeps you more alert. And I'm like, do I seem like I'm falling asleep normally? This is too cold. I am not alert. I'm uncomfortable. I'm cold and I'm cranky. They were like someone once had said, oh, you got to make the host just a little bit too cold to keep them on their toes. And I'm like, well, this is ridiculous. Like, I have goosebumps all over my body. Well, this is
it's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and
like, I'm not alert. I'm, almost in pain.
yeah. And then you're not thinking about your work because you're thinking about how do I stay warm?
Cold. Yeah. Try to put a hoodie on and the wardrobe person's like, you can't wear that. Oh, the days, the old days.
Oh, those days. That's
now
right.
we got it good. We do our office the way we want it.
Sort of. I'm still cold, but not icebox cold.
Right. Yeah. It's a little different. Hey, you put on a hoodie. No one's going to tell you not to.
Exactly.
It's your office. Well, welcome to Apple Vision Show, where sometimes we go a little off course, but we try to focus most of our hour or so conversation each week on what's new in the Appleverse. News. We do reviews when we've got reviews that we think are going to help out the rest of you listening to us. And some of you can also see us if you're watching our live stream. And it's a fun community, lifestyle focused type of show. So Eileen, I guess we should get right into it with a little Apple Intelligence stuff. We've got Mark Gurman from Bloomberg, as usual, coming through with his Power On newsletter, which he writes every weekend. So it usually turns into Monday news, if there's anything pretty significant with Apple, which there almost always is. And he's saying, Apple Intelligence does seem to be somewhat on schedule, somewhat unclear how much might be saved for an announcement when iPhones come out in September, which is still expected. We should get an announcement about that any day when that's going to. But for now, seems like the cool stuff trickling out slowly. And if you're not aware of the fact that some of these features aren't really even going to come to any phone, even the new iPhones, until early next year. And even if it's later this year, that if anybody wants to be wowed by Apple Intelligence, today is not yet that day.
No, it's not. It's a little wah-wah, but I mean, we're in developer mode, right? So this is not the official launch. And I think they hyped it up so much during WWDC. So I think those of us who have access to the developer betas were like, okay, good, let's get into it. And it's sort of like, I mean, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with what they've rolled out. It's just not dazzling. Let me just say that. I have it on my phone, and there are things that we already knew. We talked about it last week, that there's capabilities that we're not going to see until next year. So they're still working on that. That's fine. But what we're seeing, sure, Siri looks nice with the bezel going all around, the light going around the phone. And, I still have some issues with her. Like, I'm comparing, Sarah. I'm comparing Siri with my good friend Alexa, because Alexa and I are very tight these days. And, when I ask Alexa, is Simone Biles competing today, she will answer me. When I ask Siri, I don't want to say it right now, she will just give me a web page currently and maybe say something. Oh, I know what she says. This is what I found on the web, which is kind of disappointing. because sometimes I'm like, oh, I want to have that conversation. I'm having it with Alexa, and someday we will with SIRI, but
Mhm.
it's not there yet. And I thought there would be. I thought there would be a little bit of that, little play back and forth, because there's context. There's like, oh, you know, you could ask it, where is blank? And then you could say, follow up with how long will it take me to get there? Great. But
Mhm.
I thought it was gonna be more of like a conversation with each other. Instead, it's just showing you the app, I would say at least 50% of the time. So, when you ask the weather, sure, she'll answer back and stuff like that. So there's just little things that I'm like, "Oh, I thought it'd be a little bit more far along."
Yeah.
And not by that much, but, some of the stuff that I could do with Alexa, why can't we do this here with Siri? You know what I mean? So,
Although they
um
both are limited in their own ways. I'm also in my home, my smart home is powered by Amazon.
Mhm,
Everything mobile and or car goes
mhm,
Apple. But the other day, and I mean, this is just, I was like, at the height of laziness, sometimes somewhat simple math I can do in my head. I say, hey, Alexa, what's 7 times 14? It's like I can
mhm.
work that out. I also have a
Yeah,
calculator at my computer, which I'm sitting
right.
at, but I like to yell a question into the wind here or there. But the other
Yeah.
day I was like, I did my math in my head. It was just, I don't know. It was just, I had to do it. And I said, hey, is 7 times 14 this number? And she goes, sorry, I don't know that one. And I'm like, what's seven
Oh.
times 14? And then I got my answer where I was like, that is so dumb. Like such a great
Yeah.
example of, because I usually just I ask it as a question,
Mhm.
but I
Mhm.
I I changed my question to be like, hey, am I right? And she just
Yeah.
couldn't compute. And I thought, well, I don't know why I decided to ask it that way because I usually don't, but I'm like, that's pretty limiting. We need to get
Yeah, and
past
you
these silly
e
barriers.
exactly, you wanna have, like, a true conversation, that's the promise of it all, like, you would be talking to another person, right? And then this, you know, AI would just have a more quicker, data bank of, you know, churning out the answer than maybe
Yeah.
your friend who you're sitting next to. So, I don't like repeating things. So, hearing your story, I'm like, "Oh, I hate it when I have to, like, redo the
Mhm.
question." It's
Mhm.
annoying. It's just a thing that I get really annoyed with. So, I think there is a future where you could just talk to it, and it'll learn, and maybe it's learning, and there's a feedback button on a lot of the Apple Intelligence stuff. And boy, am I giving feedback. I'm like, well, not great it.
Well, and that's, I
This
mean,
didn't
as
work.
especially for the developer folks who, I mean, the whole point of developers getting betas is to, I mean, try out, how their various apps, work,
Yeah.
and figure out how they can optimize for the new software, but also give Apple feedback because
Yeah.
they're the ones who are going to see where things get buggy and you start getting errors sent back to you. And Apple wants to squash as much as that as possible with the people who actually build the tools that consumers will end up using later. I mean, Apple does
Yeah.
plenty of that on its own, but the third party ecosystem is much bigger than anything that Apple's offering us.
Yeah. There's some cool like writing tools. It offers up like if I were to write a text or an email, more casual, like if you type something, do you want to write it more casually or more formally or more professionally? And they give you these
Hmm.
options and you can tap on that. That's kind of interesting. And then, I mean, the priority stuff on email, I've seen that stuff on Gmail for the longest time. So it's learning
Sure.
my
Yeah.
Gmail, and it's not, it's kind of showing me I don't have that many things that are super priority. So it's okay. Some of the stuff where it's like on your emails and they show you sort of a preview on your email underneath the subject headline, that's nice too. But these are all interesting upgrades that hopefully, once you start using them, you kind of realize like how helpful and efficient that makes you, you know but I don't see anything that I'm like, that's the killer thing yet. Oh, the other thing. So a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh, it'd be great if SIRI could, or Apple Intelligence could create a movie as I tell them to just by with my photos, just by typing in text, which that's an option now. So when
Yeah.
you
I was
go
wondering how
into
that worked.
moments, yeah. So when you go into moments, you just describe a memory that you want. You tell them what I told them, and I had to do this several times. Give me a movie with Seven the dog from June 13th to today, or whatever date,
Mhm.
the first time I asked Apple Intelligence to do that, it just gave me a bunch of pictures from June 13th. I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? Um,
Yeah.
so
How do
I
I
did
say
it
the
again
query a
recently.
different way? Yeah.
I know. So I did it again, and it gave me a few more. What it did was it gave me a header that says 6 weeks of fun with Seven the dog. And it was still all early photos and nothing from like even this month in August. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to try that again. So then I did something a little bit different. I'm like, create me a video of uh South Korea vacation in September 2023. And the first time it did it, once again, it like only took video and photos from the first couple days, and I was there for 2 weeks. So then I extended the date, and then it did a better job. It did a better job of like giving me more from the 2 weeks than just the first couple days. So
Huh.
it's like kind of not there yet. It's like, okay, I'm
Right.
teaching it and I'm giving tons of feedback, but I'm like, don't the date range, I mean, maybe there's a different way I need to say it, or type it, because you type it in memories, and
Yeah.
you tell it what you want. um and yeah, it's cool. I think it's probably going to get better as more people use it and more prompts are initiated. um but it's cool to know that that is a feature that can happen. And what it does, though, some of the feedback, like, was it close, was it offensive, did you like the music? And half the time I'll be like, yeah, you picked some really weird music. Like one of it was like the Curb Your Enthusiasm music.
Can
The
you
set
pick
to
your own music?
you can change it, but you
You
could
can change
definitely
it, but
change it,
they
and
try
you
to
could
give you
change.
something that's on the style of
Yeah. So
the
you could
video.
change the music once it's spit out. You could even, swap out videos and or photos.
Huh.
And I'm like, but that's the point. You're supposed to do this for me because I can edit this myself,
I I also wonder where, so a tool like this, obviously it's like it's someone's birthday, you send them like a cute, little, 2-minute thing, that's
Yeah.
like a
And it,
collage of lots of photos
yeah.
and videos from, all the years past that we all have in our iPhones. But
Yeah.
I mean, do you do that on a daily basis? It seems like a tool that you would use occasionally, but not like a
Occasionally. Yeah.
everyday, oh, this has really made my life more productive type stuff. I have heard a
Right.
couple folks say that, yeah, the email summarizations for texts
Mm-hmm.
and emails is actually pretty helpful.
Mm.
For if somebody were to send me a text, especially because I feel like most of my like inside joke stuff with the people that I talk to on text happens via text.
Uh-huh.
So I'm
Uh-huh.
like, I don't know, try to summarize that. I don't know how helpful that would be. But again, I haven't really used it. For emails, I feel like that makes a lot more sense. And you know what it reminds me of? For anybody who reads the tech news website Tech Meme regularly. So Tech Meme
Mm-hmm.
is not it's a news aggregator based on website visits and kind of stuff that is popular within social media about a particular article and topic. It will kind of give you a general overview of, it's kind of not unlike Google News. If you click
Yeah.
the technology tab, it will sort of have stuff bubble up to the top that's most talked about and buzzy kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, some years ago, this is a while ago now, but some years ago, Tech Meme, and they were very public about this, said, we are, because it used to be you go to techmeme.com, if the top story is, and then there were three, and that article was from TechCrunch about the fact that like some startup died, and then contextually it meant that there were three of the four unicorn companies, that were
Mm.
all on the same block in San Francisco at some point. You know what I mean? Like in context, that headline would make sense, but it made no sense taking it off of, the TechCrunch site. So TechMeme said, okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to link to the original post. Author gets all the credit, but we're going to summarize the headline so that, the third party who now comes directly to us isn't like, what's that article about? And then gets annoyed because they clicked on something thinking it was something different. We're going to say, startup 4 decides to shutter doors. Startup 1, 2, and 3 are now the only ones on that block. Something like this. I'm making, this is a terrible example, but you get it. And I remember there was a lot of outcry, people saying like, you can't just summarize an author's headline. It's their headline. But after like a week, everyone was like, yeah, this is way better.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like the summarizations that Apple Intelligence is probably going for is something like that, where you're like, there's a snapshot of what's behind this email.
100%. And you could actually do this on Safari as well. If you have an article that you want to read and it's just so dense or long, you can go into reader mode and then hit summarize, and it does the same thing. It'll summarize, at the top, kind of like the best stuff, right? So, we'll mention
I'll tell you,
in a little bit.
If you're in the news gathering business, as I am sometimes, there are certain articles that are, well written, lots of information. The lead is more than buried. And I'm like, I'm on a deadline. I got 15 minutes to not only read this, absorb it, and then spit it back out. Where I'm like, I can't read, the 6 paragraphs of like the history of mankind before we get to the new GPUs, just summarize, and then, that I can, check the work and everything. But that would be really helpful just to, you got to go fast.
Yeah, I haven't really used it on super dense articles. I just kind of like realized that you could do this, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. So maybe I'll take like an economist article or something, really like meaty with a lot of information, and do that and see how well it actually does summarize the and it's going to get better.
We're not advocating for people not to read dense material, but
of course
there's a time and a place. Sometimes I simply don't, even if I'm in the right place, I do not have the time.
Yeah.
I want to, go revisit later, but tools are good. Yeah. So writing and absorbing other writing tools, I think that's cool. But again, that's not going to like sell somebody an iPhone.
Exactly.
These are little fun perks. They're not like a different experience, I don't feel like.
And that's kind of what the talk on the street is. The chatter is like, well, these people on the iPhone 14 aren't going to upgrade just for that. They're not going to upgrade. You have to get a 15 at least to have, Apple Intelligence. And people are like, well, most people analysts think like, unless they start showing some really cool stuff that is going to be available on the day of purchase, then I think this will, most people are kind of going through, this works for me right now. So when that special thing is turned on, whatever it is, then I'll go for it. So it's a nice to have. It's not a need to have yet. Right. So I guess we'll see.
Well, if they slash the price of the 15 line,
that's true.
When we get the 16, they might get some movement there. I've years past, I've been back a couple of cycles, and not just iPhones, just Apple products in general. I've been like, I'm not really springing for the new thing, but now the thing that I passed on last year. Yeah, it's Apple doesn't, they're just trying to get rid of them now. So the price is a little bit more attractive. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like most people who have the new beta for Apple Intelligence and has Apple Intelligence, it's just kind of like, okay, it's there. It's kind of in the meh. It's kind of in the that's nice category, not this is going to change your life category. Not yet, anyway. So
there are so many different tools, and I feel like. And it depends on who you talk to, of course, because a lot of people they're not looking at how every company is developing their own AI tools using, large language models and, companies are trying to stand out in a very, very, speaking of a dense crowd of players. And I feel like it's kind of like, especially in the early days of the pandemic, well, not even pandemic. I mean, I would say before that, but particularly in the pandemic, when anything that was a video conference was called a Zoom. Sometimes you were using the Zoom software, but often it was something else. But people just started calling it Zoom, like Kleenex.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a name for something that means a lot of different things. And I feel like Chat GPT is one of those terms. It's like people will say Chat GPT even if they're not talking about Chat GPT created by OpenAI. They're talking about a chatbot or some other way that it's like a text prompt that gives you something. You know, I've had people say that about like, I don't know, stable diffusion stuff where I'm like, but that's not Chat GPT. You're not even chatting. Like that's not like they didn't help you write your article for your senior thesis. They gave you a photo of a dog because you described it, and they're like, but I was chatting. And I'm like, okay, so it's like we've got this kind of funny terminology that's floating around. I know Apple is trying to distance itself, like it's Apple Intelligence, acronym.
But
AI.
then they're gonna call it AI.
Yeah, but it's
lump
sort of
it
like
with everybody else.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, Apple, you're doing things your way. That's very you. But if it's not cool, then I mean, email summaries. I mean, that's not moving the needle all that much. But again, early days. I know clearly the company has thought about a lot more than this. It's just for anybody who was like pumped in early June at WWDC, I can see them being like, "What is this? Like." Is the company still doing like, is this a half-baked thing? Feels kind of half-baked right now.
Well, I keep asking myself, did I miss something? Is there something else I need to do with this? That's like, what did I miss? And I'm like, reading other articles. I'm reading I'm watching other videos of people who are trying. I'm like, no, this is it. I'm doing exactly okay. They're showing exactly what I've done. Okay. I guess that's it then for now. Cause I'm like, there must be something else. Nope, not yet.
Well, they probably, my this is my best guess. They probably had to make something sound really splashy at back in June, because every other company is doing this. So if Apple didn't have like some big, we're in the AI game announcement too, everyone would say Apple's lost. They're too far behind. I mean, Google was already accused of that a year ago. So Apple bringing up the rear, with nothing, would be a bad look. But what's also a bad look is for something that sounds so great to then be like, oh, I can't really do anything with this. People say that about the Vision Pro. They say expensive device, years in the making, so many rumors, finally launched, not vaporware. And then like, what's it for? It's for lots of things, but for a lot of people, it's not for their lots of things. It's for lots of things that don't, apply to them, but developer device. So
so I'm happy with the upgrades, but I guess I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything. I don't think I did. There's other stuff like reduce interruptions, which is kind of like do not disturb, and I just turned that on for the purpose of this show. Like for now, reduced interruptions between 2 and 3.
So do not disturb is like, I'm focusing, like no one calls me unless it's like an emergency number, which you can, designate in settings. But if you reduce interruptions, how many interruptions are you still getting?
I know. Well, you could choose on the back end what types of interruptions to get, which is kind of the same with which is the same as do not disturb. Now, what I didn't realize is that it was already prompted on. It was already switched on, but I had to go into settings to really kind of go, all right, this is actually now I see reduced interruptions. Part of what you could do is tell it which pages are you allowed to see on your phone? And I chose just my home page, which means my setting page is on a different page, and I can't get to it right now because I'm on reduced interruptions. So there you go. There's like I chose like this is the only page I can see on my phone.
Okay,
currently.
Hold on a second, Eileen. This is very interesting. Very interesting human behavior. Your settings
I know
icon is not on your home screen?
no, it's not. I didn't
Where
realize
is
that. It's on the second page.
Wow, I have never heard of such a thing. If anyone
I
out there
know.
is like, "Yeah, me too, Sarah, what's your problem?" I've never even considered moving that. Well, you used to not be able to, but I now that you can, I've never considered it. Probably just because I'm in there a lot. I'm always in my
Oh,
settings for some reason.
interesting. I don't know why that I prioritized other apps in front of that one, but I did. And so now as I'm under reduced interruptions until 3 o'clock, I cannot get to that my settings. I mean I can because it's on my app library,
Yeah, you can overwrite
Those are
it.
yeah, I could override it, but technically it's not like readily available. Like, oh, there it is in utilities on app library, which is the second page I have. But it's not the same as like going boop, boop, boop. There it is. And it's definitely not the same because I don't have it on my homepage. There you go. There's my confession of the
Well,
week. It's not-
everyone's different. Hey, I'm not telling you you're wrong. I mean, I think I would probably just get really used to it, swipe to find, my settings type thing. But I
Mhm.
also don't even though there is more customization than ever with iOS 18, even 17
Mhm.
really, but I don't mess around with my home screen all that often. Occasionally, there'll be an app where I'm like, I haven't opened that in a month. This doesn't need to be on my home screen. It's really for
Yeah.
stuff that I'm using over and over. And even stuff that I use over and over. For example, I paid somebody that I bought a used dining table from over the weekend
Mm.
using Venmo. He came over, we got the table up my stairs, and I was like, I had asked him before, how do you want to be paid? Because a lot of people prefer like cash, paper cash.
Mhm.
So I'm like, if that's the case, I don't carry cash. So I will have to go to my bank. He just
Mhm.
never responded to me, but he delivered the table. It's great. But I was like, so we're standing there and I'm like, all right, what do you got? You got Cash App, Venmo, Zelle. What do you want? And he's like, any of those work. And I'm like, well, I have all of them on my phone. So like, just pick the one you want the most. And he's like, let's do Venmo. I'm like, great. Venmo's not on my home screen because I don't use it that often.
Yeah.
I use it,
Mhm.
maybe 2-3 times a month, I would say.
Oh, that's a lot more
So
than
I
me.
just yeah, well, because I get paid. Well, I get
Yeah.
paid for some things using PayPal, and then I use either
Yeah.
PayPal to transfer. I move things around with Venmo, but and when you split the bill, some people just say Venmo. I'm great, but it's not on my home screen. So I do the little pull down search bar VE, and then it's
Yeah.
right there. So I do that with a
Yeah.
lot of apps, which is made
Same.
organization of apps. There are a lot of apps where I'm like, I could not tell you if it's on page 6 or what. I just know
Yeah.
it's on my phone, and I just do like the 2 first letters, and it always pulls up.
Yeah. I probably only know the first 2 pages of my phone and that's it. And then I have to
Oh, I
definitely
don't
search
even
for it.
know everything that's on my
The second
second page.
page.
Not currently without a hint. I think it's
Mhm.
like, gosh, I don't even know. I mean, what is on my home screen? I don't have my phone with me exactly for
Uh-huh.
do not disturb because I'm like, someone's gonna spam me and it's gonna pick up on the mic. And so I just have my
Yeah.
phone in a different room, although it'll
Okay.
still, come through on my watch. But yeah, my home screen without thinking or without looking, it's I have a folder for photography apps,
Mm.
which I don't use ever. But for some
Can move
reason,
that?
I like
Yeah.
them. Photography apps used to just be like so much bigger of a deal, I feel like, before the
Mhm.
native app in iPhones just got really good. You can
Mm.
still use them for creativity for sure, but I don't know. I've got my photography app, obviously Gmail, um, or actually no, I don't have a
No?
Gmail icon on my home screen. I have a
Do you throw
Google
that on
folder.
mail?
I have a
Yeah,
Google
I
folder,
have a Google
which
folder. Same.
so it's like Gmail, Docs,
Mhm.
Maps,
Mhm.
just Google stuff, and
Yeah.
then LastPass is on there, Instagram. Um,
We've LastPass on your homepage?
I do because I use it a lot.
Oh, wow.
I use it a
Oh, okay.
lot
Okay.
because I find that the LastPass experience on desktop is way smoother than the mobile experience. I can't
100%.
tell you
Yeah.
how many times it's like wrong password, because I'm, on my little
Yeah.
iOS screen. And I'm like, ugh. So it used to be, LastPass was like way in there. Who even knows what page it was on? And I would like have to find, like search, and now I'm just like, put it on the home screen. So then I, go find, and I tell you, I copy and paste what I think is the same password from within LastPass. And then it goes through and I'm like, pretty sure that just
you typed it.
Yeah. Like I don't get it, but, Slack on the homepage. I don't know. This would be a long exercise if I keep going, but it's pretty, I don't know, just everyday stuff for the most part. Yeah. Twitter or X, no longer on my home screen.
Oh, you took it off.
I don't use, not even for browsing on mobile at all. Unless I'm out and about and someone's like, oh my gosh, you have to look at this tweet. I just, almost never open it on mobile. It's just, it's a desktop thing for me, but I'm more of a desktop person than I think an average person anyway.
Yeah. Well, interesting. Yeah, I have all my social stuff on my homepage. I have a huge widget for Spotify, a huge widget for weather, and then I have calendar, clocks, photos, my Google folder like you. That's my only folder is Google. Then I have Notes, Wallet, reminders. I think I can move reminders because I have a lot of notification for reminders. So I think I can move that over to the second page. Duolingo, which I am on this
Duolingo's on my
crazy
homepage
streak.
Too. Yep.
Then Instagram, TikTok, I still have X on there, and then Safari. So those are the ones that I have on there. I think I'm just kind of like old habits with X that I go there for news, weirdly, even though I have my Apple News. I go to Apple News a lot, but I still, for the quick, like, ooh, what's the pulse? I go to X, which I don't want to, but I still do. And I find things there faster, So
I think part of it was when, and this is, pre current ownership of X, but when Twitter started rate limiting the third party apps, Tweetbot, which was very popular and I used for at least a decade, if not longer, being one of the more popular ones that had issues. It ended up having to just fully shut down because of the current ownership. But even before that, third-party issues had reoccurring issues with the management at Twitter, here and there. But I remember at some point when Tweetbot finally died, because that was on my homepage, home screen for sure. I was like, well, do I replace it with a native app? And I was like, no, you took something away from me. You get buried in my phone. Easily accessible, of course, but you're buried, That's
I'm
just
trying
my act of rebellion. Oh, I meant Chrome. Derp. I was like, I know I don't go to Gmail because I just go through my mail app, which Gmail funnels into along with several other accounts. But Chrome I have on my not only my home screen, but it's it's down on the important.
Oh, it's down there. The important for. I don't even know why I have the phone there because I don't make phone calls, and I don't accept phone calls most of the time. And if somebody calls me, I'm going to be notified, right? And I could just click. It's not like I have to go to that app. So I don't even know why I have the phone. I mean, I don't even like phone calls. I'm like, I should just get rid of it. I should totally just put that should go on the second page. You know what? I'm going to do that and see what happens. Because I don't make a lot of phone calls.
This is such a funny, it's like a psychological study of the fact that here we are holding these, they are phones, but they're not phones anymore. They're devices. They're devices where a phone is like one of a million features. But they started out as phones. And because of that reason, my important for is messages, phone. Messages has to be hard left always. Same. Messages, phone, Chrome, settings. And they never change.
Okay, so mine is phone, which I'm probably going to move, messages, mail, and camera. I'm always, and the thing is I could get to my camera through my lock screen and many other places. And I've tried to use, what is that? The active button to, I just forget the active button, on the top, whatever you call this button here. I forget I've prompted to launch my camera and I just don't. I always find the camera app on my
Wait, I
home
don't even know what you're
screen.
talking about. What active
You
button?
this button here on the side here, you can make this button do whatever you want, right? You can make it do
I got you.
yeah.
I got you. I thought you were talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
the
yeah.
notch on the screen
Oh no,
itself.
sorry, not the notch. Sorry. This sorry, if you're listening, it's the button above the volume buttons, right? So you can
Right.
create that to be whatever you want. And I tried using it for the camera and I just keep forgetting. So that's another option to kind of alleviate and move something else in there. Like I'm gonna try something different. Let's see if my habits
Gonna
change
bury
just by
that phone
moving
icon,
things.
aren't you?
I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
bury that phone icon. Yeah, I don't like
I
to
mean,
use it
it's not
anyway.
the
So
worst idea in the world. I'm with you. I mean, there are certain people I very much enjoy talking to on the phone, but
yeah.
even those people, I mean, I don't
I
want
mean,
to. There are certain days where I'm like, I don't care how much I love you, I don't want to talk on the phone. I just
well,
don't want to.
also you could technically use SIRI to say call blank, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't even need the app, right? So
Right,
okay, it's
right.
gonna get
When I'm in my
buried after
car,
the
that's
show.
all I do. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So
gonna
I'm
be
gonna go
buried.
bury it after the show. Done.
Bold
I've,
move.
I've
Bo- Bold
just
move.
by talking this through with you, Sarah, I have decided I don't need that taking valuable landscape on my homepage. So goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm going to put
Mm-hmm.
there, but something else will go there. There we go.
Even though I use Apple's iOS mail app for it's a couple different Gmail accounts,
Mm,
and I've got just a personal domain and some stuff for shows that all come in. I still have that is not in my important for because Chrome is in there. And that's actually something that probably should be because the mail app, well, I don't know. It's like, what's more significant to me? Chrome, which is very important to me on mobile.
hmm
I could use Safari, but Chrome is like, I have so much
Okay.
like synced things across
hmm
devices that I prefer to start there. But the mail app feels more important for, I don't know.
Yeah.
I might be making some changes too once we finish
Ooh.
episode
You know,
27 here. I might.
I'm s- I'm still stuck in the I like the Gmail app better than
Mhm.
putting Gmail on, even though I have Gmail on mail. I use my mail app for my Mac address and for an old Yahoo address, believe it or not.
Yeah,
But on my
people use them.
Gmail, I know I don't have AOL, but I still have Yahoo.
You just like to kind of that's its own thing. You
That's its own
you
thing. Like
you
Gmail is
enter
its own
Gmail
thing.
its
I
own way.
like
Yeah.
the way it looks. It looks very familiar with like the desktop that I use, or on the web on Chrome. So I don't know. I haven't divorced my that I'm not going to make a change right now, but I did put Google in my mail app and I just don't like the way I use it in the mail app versus it on the actual native Gmail app. I think it's just better on the Gmail app. It's just, it's made for that. So you lose some of the Google stuff that I am so used to, either categorization and even just the visuals of it all. I feel like I've lost something because it's trying to become Apple in the mail app, and I guess I just don't like it. It's just me and my preference, but
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that it's more efficient at all because I go to a different app to open it up. It's kind of like, why do
Yeah.
you have to do two steps? But I don't know.
That
For now, that's kind of where I'm at.
that's sometimes the conversation I have with people who love the super app experience, right? WeChat being
Ah,
probably the most famous of them.
mhm.
But there are especially Americans have a reputation for like doing things the hard way for no reason, especially
Yeah.
when it comes not I mean maybe not everything in life, but when it comes to sort of the mobile phone and transactional experience.
Mhm.
And one of the not complaints because what do they care, but people will say, well, why do you make it so much harder on yourselves by just like siloing everything into all these buckets? And I'm like,
Yeah.
because you just get used to it. You just get
Yeah.
I've never once thought, how weird that I can't also, buy something within my uh Slack app. I don't, like I'm like,
Which you can probably, right?
Yeah, sure. I think there's like a gift giving feature,
Yeah.
but the whole kind of like packaged all together. Some people like super convenient, only have to go one place. It's like a mall,
Right.
you got one of everything. You just go to the one mall and you have so many options. And then other people are like, no, we want, variety, and different experiences. And, nobody's right or wrong.
No. Yeah, it's if it works better for you because you like it, then you should continue. But if it helps you to, I don't know, just get faster, then maybe think about changing, but you don't have to, you know. Yeah, it's nice to have the options. That's what I think. So,
indeed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with those deep thoughts, why don't we go ahead and take a little break and be back in just a few. Ooh, that was a good nap, Eileen. Just a nice, short little power nap.
It's always nice to take breaks.
It almost
refresh
felt like
yourself.
I just blinked. Yep. Sometimes that's all you need. That's all you need.
Yep. For sure. Make yourself, health and wellness first.
Totally. Speaking of do not disturb, I was thinking of this earlier and then we moved on and I forgot to mention it. I don't have do not disturb on when I'm sleeping, but I also I know.
That's crazy. Wow.
I know. Especially when there'll be people that I'm texting with, in the morning. Usually on messages, but this is also a Slack thing because I talk to a variety of people on different Slack channels, and it's like so-and-so has the notifications turned off, or silenced or, whatever the verbiage is. And they're always there because they'll respond to me right away. But it's like a little padding, so like if someone doesn't respond, it's like I was, in quiet mode or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just don't have it turned on. I don't know why. I guess part of me is like, if there was an emergency, I want someone to get through to me. I know you can have emergency people who can get through when everyone else can't. I've just never set that up. It's just never been too much of an issue. However, on my watch, which I do wear overnight because I like my sleep tracking, I do have I think it's between 10 p.m. I don't know what it is. It might be 11. It's something where it's like, I don't want this thing to buzz, because, even if it's not making a noise, like it'll, send you like little vibrations and then I'll wake you right up. And I don't want any of that stuff between hours that I'm almost always going to be asleep. If there's something crazy happening, I'll hear it on my phone. Although my phone isn't in the bedroom half the time anyway. So I don't know what a great emergency person I would be. Never call me in an emergency. That's the short takeaway from the story.
Yeah.
But so I've got that and it almost always works like a charm. And, in fact, when I know what it is. It's 10:30 and 6:30 because sometimes in fact, often I just naturally am up before 6:30 because the sun's up, my cat's yelling for food, and I get up and my watch will say, "Do you want to start your day?" Because my day technically isn't starting until 6:30. I'm like in like slump, hibernation.
Yeah.
And I say, and then it kind of, it wakes up. But there are times where I'll be like a little restless during the night, maybe I have to get up and use the bathroom or get some water, or I'm just tossing and turning a little bit, or I had a bad dream. And my phone, I don't know if this is happening all the time and sometimes I sleep through it, but when I'm alert enough to notice, my phone will, it'll do like beep, beep, like weird little, it's sending me some sort of information, little vibrations. Sometimes there's like the tiniest bit of noise and I don't look at it because I'm like trying to sleep.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is this happening? Is it because it knows that I'm awake? Because I'm like, that's crazy. You should not do that. I told you to be quiet between 10:30 and 6:30.
And it's not actual notifications.
I'm not sleeping.
It's not actual notifications or anything like that. It's just
it is,
just
and they're coming through.
Oh.
But it's like save the notification. I'll see it in the morning, and I'll decide to do something with it or just say dismiss. But it's like there's certain things it's like active. And I'm like, okay, well, don't do that. You're supposed to be a
Yeah.
quiet little machine tracking my sleep, and that's it. I'm not sure what that's all about. If you're listening and you're like, I know what's going on, maybe there's a setting I've either, I don't know, set up wrong or missed altogether.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really remember it bothering me lately, but there have been times where I'm like, I'm not getting great sleep right now. I'm awake. And my watch will be sort of active, and it's like, well, you're not helping.
Yeah.
stop,
Yeah.
stop
Come
being
on, watch.
alert. Stop being like being
I
chipper
told
with
you,
me.
be quiet during this time. Wow.
Yes, be
Okay.
quiet. I don't need activity on my wrist. Nothing that I can notice anyway.
Weird.
Well, so last week, Eileen, for anybody who listened to Daily Tech News Show last week, you heard a lot about company earnings. We're not going to belabor that point on this show, this episode of Apple Vision Show, because we don't really, do that anyway, even for Apple. But Apple did have a very interesting earnings quarter, and that is not only did Apple make a boatload of money, as it does every quarter because it's Apple, although lost some money on iPhone revenue, which is not a lot, but iPhone revenue being flat even a couple of years ago would have been like, ooh, real concerning, because that is Apple's cash cow. Obviously,
Right.
Apple sells lots of things besides the iPhone, be it the Mac line, iPads, services, you got a variety of subscriptions, that goes into services too. And accessories. I mean, but the iPhone has just that is where Apple makes its money. So losing money on the iPhone a short period ago would have been like, okay, it's over. They had their good run, and now just there's too many other options, and Apple, not top dog anymore. But Apple is now making so much money in its services division, which includes, a subscription for a variety of things. That's music, that's fitness, that's TV Plus, the Apple News, and to the point where it's not making up half of Apple's total revenue, but it's getting close. It's getting close to 50%. And that takes the pressure off of anything, whether it's iPhone, maybe, in another dimension, MacBook Pros were the only thing, that was really, really driving Apple revenue. I mean, that's not the case, but Mac sales were also up a little bit in this last quarter, which we talked about on Daily Tech News Show last Friday. But the services revenue being up is really interesting because Apple has wanted that to be the case. As they continue to add features and apps and tips and tricks and tools to their services division, seems to be paying off. And again, Apple made a lot of money. And if you're a investor or a shareholder, I am neither of those things. Full disclosure, this is
same
not
here.
a conversation I'm having where there's any outcome that will directly affect me. All I do is spend money on Apple products and services. But it seems to be moving in the right direction for Apple. So that's kind of interesting. We were talking to Ron Richards, who hosts Android Faithful. We could call it a sister show to Apple Vision Show, although obviously they talk about things that are Android based, but they also talk about Apple stuff as we talk about other platforms on this show as well. But he was like, "Who is watching Apple TV Plus?" Nobody. And I was like, "Well, I am."
What?
And he was like, "Yeah, but like no one's really watching it." And I'm like, "Yeah, the numbers are not going to rival like a Netflix, but they're really different offerings, Yeah. It's like, first of all, Apple TV Plus is really new. I mean, it's not like 2 days old, but it's a late entry into a crowded market. And the company also has, as we've talked about before on previous shows here, focus on like top tier talent and production, to the point that the rumors are now that Apple's like, yeah, we might want to scale back our production spending for these original series and movies. But it's just different. It's a very different different offering. I was like, I don't know, Ron. I think a lot of people are, watching, like, what about Presumed Innocent? It was like a really, really big hit for Apple TV Plus. So anyway, long story short, I think Apple is in pretty good shape right now. The iPhone dip in sales and revenue, we're now currently in the quarter where Apple is going to sell a bunch of new iPhones. Whether they're going to smash previous records remains to be seen, but they're going to sell a lot of iPhones. So iPhone revenue is going to be way up. At the end of this quarter, happens 4 times a year, where we talk about, how all the companies are doing. So I think Apple's in pretty good shape.
The services market is really interesting, though. I mean, I just feel like as an identity of who Apple is, it would be weird for that to surpass hardware, right? Like that's not
Yes.
who Apple is, right? Like services that's great. I mean, who would have thought that, I would be paying for subscriptions to various apps through Apple? I back in the day, I never thought that, I mean, because subscription model wasn't a thing, back in 2007, right? So
Right.
now, I'm keeping track of all my subscriptions and making sure, do I really still want this? Yeah, like for instance, like Final Cut, I'm like, oh shoot, I did the 30-day subscription, I forgot, and so now I paid $4.99 for this month. Do I really need it? I don't know. Anyway, that's probably how they're getting. That's how they're getting most of us, by the way. So
True.
keep tabs. Keep tabs on your subscriptions, everybody. Like, do you really
Yeah.
still need that thing?
Well, and of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that services revenue is also Apple's 30% cut from third-party apps in its app store, which a lot of people think is a bunch of baloney and super unfair. Talk to Epic Games sometime, but yeah. So I mean, there is services revenue that Apple is raking in. For example, Google being default search in Safari. I pays for that. Pays a lot. Pays a lot of money for that. Do you pay for iCloud? I do. I don't pay for like top tier iCloud, but I pay, I think it's $5 a month just to have like iCloud storage that I'm never going over. And even though I do pay for extra Google storage as well in Google Drive, but only like $2 a month. I don't know. They'll get you.
Yeah, they'll get you.
But
I mean, it's good to diversify your business. Obviously, you want to have successful pillars that are outside of your core. So it's just interesting. And also, it'll help too, the bottom line, if you have a low cycle in 1 year, like you were saying, Sarah, and then like, oh, well, we got a little bump here over in services to kind of make up ground for that, which 10 years ago, that wouldn't have been a thing to even think about, or they did think about it. And now we're here, that it's helping. So I don't know. I mean,
well, it's also, you can, if you've got services, you've got iPhone, you've got iPad, Mac, and wearables. So that's the pie, they all got a piece of the pie. I think Mac is the lowest piece. Yeah, I think Mac sales are the smallest piece of the pie currently. But iPad had a bump in growth over the last quarter, which is, I was surprised by that, because iPad had been kind of flat or almost seeming like, maybe a form factor that not everybody is like super into. Tablets in general. It wasn't just iPads, but it was kind of like we had a lull in the tablet. There was such a tablet frenzy from like 2010 to, I guess, 2015. And then it was kind of this conversation of like, yeah, I mean, a lot of people who have tablets just have them. But I mean, are we really bringing in a lot of new people all the time? I mean, the answer is still no, not a lot.
Right.
But for them to get a bump. But I think that any of, the pie, the wheel of cheese, whatever the round thing that I described that has, iPhone still the biggest part of that pie. The more that something like services, which encompasses lots of things, the more that can float the company. Like maybe like iPad takes a real dip. Maybe they shut down iPads altogether. I mean, this is not even a rumor. But if the services part of, division is healthy and strong, where that could run even if they don't make any hardware, well, I
Right.
mean, they want it to run on their own hardware, but you know, like
Right.
that can keep a company in good shape rather than tank it. And a company of
Yeah.
Apple's size and seemingly, you know, endless wells of money. I mean, Apple is not immune to something catastrophic happening. I mean, it happens. It's just a cyclical thing. So I think it's good. I think it's good.
Yeah. I mean, I talked a lot about subscriptions, but the number one thing that I use my services for is wallet. I love my
Ah,
wallet.
yeah,
I
me
love it
too.
for even just having like my like membership cards in there, like if I go to Sephora and I'm like, oh, do you want my number? So I have my rewards card in there, or for like my Ticketmaster wallet, all the things that I use it for, even just knowing my Sky Miles and stuff. Wallet is, I love Wallet. So I get so excited when a vendor, when I ask, oh, do you have Wallet? They're like, yes. Oh my God, yes. Okay, great. Thank you. I don't know why I still get super excited. More and more people are using Wallet either,
Well, it used
and
to be
across.
that like unless there was like, you know, that you would get the stickers, you know, like unless there was like a prominent like Apple Pay accepted here, you'd
Yeah.
have to ask and they'd go no, or they'd say like only Samsung Pay or you know
Yeah.
something. And so I would like frequent places that I knew took it, even if I had my wallet on me, I would just be
Mhm.
like, it's just like fun to use.
I think that COVID propelled it faster,
Yeah,
because I remember our local Ralph's didn't even have Apple Pay and we still had to pull out our card, and now they do. They totally do.
yeah. Yeah,
But everybody
contactless,
being
that
yes.
gave it a big push. I
Yeah.
also, I've got this is a very random thing that, again, not a situation I would be in often, but I was at a bar, this is like a month ago, and it was like a new bar that I had opened up near a friend, and the friend
Mhm.
was like, "Let's go, you know, let's like see
Yeah.
what the vibe is on a Friday night type thing."
Yeah.
So we go, and it's like a sports bar. It's like it's very cash. We sit at the bar. We're like, "This is fun, yeah." And there was a jukebox in the corner, and it's one of these like modern jukeboxes where it's like you download an app and then you request the
Mhm.
song that way. Like you don't go and
Nice.
like flip through albums like
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
jukebox itself. Maybe you
Yeah.
could, but you didn't have to. And so we were like, "Oh, this is fun. Let's play a song." You know, and there was like for whatever reason, and I don't remember what it was, the app that worked with the jukebox um wouldn't like you had to like load it up with like a couple bucks.
Mm.
And I don't remember if like I could only do it. I don't remember what it was, but my Apple Card, which is
Mm.
something that I signed up for just when it became available. I never use
Yeah.
it. I have no balance on it. My Apple Card was one of the options, and I was like, let's do
Yes.
that,
Let's do
because it
it.
sort of was like, do you, you know, are, you know, here are your options to, you know, pay for, you know, pay the like, it was probably like $5, you know, to
Yeah.
like get a song to like go to the top of the queue and like play it right away. And so I was like, let's do that. And then so I did that like a couple times, you know, so I spent a few bucks, forgot about it. And then, you know, at the end of that month, yeah, so this is over a month ago. At the end of the month, I got like, your
The bill.
Apple Card statement is available. And I was like, what? This is, you know, it's fraud. You know, somebody hacked me. And I look at it and I'm looking at the total and I'm like, what the heck is this? And I realized it was the bar. It was the
It
bar.
was
It
the
was me.
bar.
It was the bar. And I had like, you know, I had money on a card. It's a credit card. And I was explaining the story to somebody and they were like, "Are you talking about Apple Pay?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, not Apple Pay. That would have been something that I proactively do." It was my Apple Card because I'm like, "Who's got money? Who's got money? We need money. We need a certain kind of synthetic money that you can't hold." The Apple Card was
To
the only
this
thing that
day,
worked.
this is still the only thing that you've used your Apple Card for, right?
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
this day. Yeah.
And I don't know why. In fact, I should really check my terms because maybe there's like, I think there used to be, I think Apple broke up with Goldman Sachs, which was giving people
Yeah.
like really good like cash back on
I was gonna
purchases.
ask, did you get a couple of cents back for your karaoke purchase?
Probably. I don't know. I use an Amazon credit card because
Ah.
Amazon, if you buy things on Amazon a lot, which I do, you end up racking up points pretty good. They give you extra stuff, if you if shop at Whole
Yeah.
Foods and certain places. I've got that, and I have an airline miles credit card that for the flights I never take anymore, but I used to get a lot of free flights because I would pay for a lot of things on my United Visa. But I'm just so used to those that that's kind of just the credit cards I use. And they're in my wallet, my Apple wallet. So I rarely look at them.
I just love the karaoke charge. That's amazing.
Jukebox,
Just the one, not gas, not food. Karaoke charge. Or karaoke, the jukebox.
Yeah. I don't even remember what I played, but it was something sort of obnoxious where I knew as soon as it started, the whole bar was gonna like take a beat and like be like, who played this? I forget what song it was, but it was like, it's such, I mean, talk about like feeling like you've got like you're holding a lot of power. Is like, I'm going to change the mood in this place with one button. And that's the song I'm about to play. I forget which one it was. It was something really weird. But hey, if you have a jukebox, you're asking for it. That's the game. Those are the rules. If you offer, we will play.
Apple.
All right, so Eileen, we got an email. This one comes from Bede, who's written us before. Hi again, and says Sarah mentioned that the Google Maps voiceovers don't pause her podcast when she's using CarPlay. I've definitely noticed this in the past, but when I went for a drive today, it didn't happen. Google Maps paused my podcast and then even went back a second or two to replay the last bit before the interruption. Maybe they pushed an update that fixed this recently. I've definitely noticed that Google Maps looks more like Waze and CarPlay recently and now has options to report accidents. So maybe it's a side effect of those changes. Bede goes on to say, interestingly, I couldn't adjust my audio settings in either Waze or Google Maps in both the settings and navigation screens. Pressing the button didn't do anything. Bede says, Sarah also mentioned that her location slightly behind in Google Maps. You're right. That did even happen to me the other day because I've been trying it out again. Bede says, I think this was broken in an update earlier this year. I distinctly remember it suddenly getting worse for me, but being unable to find any information online. Well, Bede, I'm not happy this is happening to you, but I'm glad I'm not alone. As far as Google Maps voiceovers not pausing podcasts when using CarPlay, I did try this out the other day because after our conversation, where if you missed the episode where we talked about this, I complained that with Apple Maps and Google Maps for navigation alone, getting from point A to point B, I find them to be neck and neck. They both do the job. My two gripes with Google Maps specifically, and this is using CarPlay. So any other time, not an issue. But in my car and CarPlay is number one, sometimes Google Maps, when I'm in an unfamiliar place and I got to turn left, I'm getting the alert to turn left late enough that I either miss it or it's like dangerous for me to turn left right at the last second type thing. It's like slightly behind. And this almost is always on surface streets. It's not really like a freeway problem, but it's like enough where I'm like, oh man, now I got to go, I got to do a whole thing. And then the other issue is, that whole, the audio lowers and is in the background underneath my navigation, but like then I miss a sentence sometimes. So good to know, Bede, that this may be just a me problem and I haven't revisited it often enough to see that it is now fine. And maybe there's another setting in there that I haven't figured out. I still just use Apple Maps most of the time just because I'm used to it now. So there you go.
Yeah. It's really handy because you wear your watch all the time too. And I like the beep that just because I don't like the audio ducking. I can't stand it. When I'm listening to a song, I want to rock out while I'm driving. I do not want to hear and make a right. Oh, it just kills my vibe. And I have missed sometimes. This is not Apple Maps, but on Google, I have missed the turn sometimes or the exit because I'm rocking too hard. But but with Apple Maps and the watch, it is gonna, if you turn that audio off or you don't have that, it's gonna, and as long as you don't turn off your watch, you're gonna get that beep and go, oh, yep, I'm fine with the beep.
Now, see, I have all audio notifications except a couple turned off on my watch, but I get the vibration
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah. The
navigation.
vibration. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
So it's like even though I also have that going through my car speakers because of CarPlay,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
when that left turn's coming up, watch is like tap 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 tap,
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 tap, tap,
and
tap,
then
tap,
go,
tap, tap. Yeah.
in 500 feet, make a left. And I'm like, all right, everyone has alerted me. There's no way I can miss this turn.
That's what I like
I've got
about it
a
too.
whole orchestra of being like, Sarah, you will be turning left.
Yeah. There's only a very few times that I'm totally annoyed by it. Usually I'm like, oh, great. Thank you. Because I'm either lost in thought or, like I said, singing really loud, rocking out. And like, oh, hey, it's time to turn. Oops. So anyway,
Well,
I guess
I'd
thank you,
like to
Bede,
see
for
that.
that.
I'd like to see that visual. I was just like, missed the turn again. Do, 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 do.
It happens. No, what happens is this. It's like, oh, okay. And then I go, I'm either really,
Yeah.
I'm either really angry at myself or I'm like, I guess I got to exit immediately. Next one. And then, backtrack. But
The one that
anyway.
that just kills me is and again, this is usually unfamiliar areas where I'm like, I'm already kind of, like high alert, like, am I doing the right thing type thing?
Yeah.
And I'll mess up. This actually happened recently where I was coming home from a like a trail that I take with my dog regularly. But I was worried that there was going to be traffic the way that I usually just go home, which is I know it's the fastest way, but it was like LA traffic. So I just put on navigation just to like see if I was going to get rerouted somewhere, which I was. So I'm like, good. I'm like avoiding an
good thing you
accident
did
on the
that.
freeway type thing. Yeah, exactly. It can be helpful. But because of that, it got me onto a freeway in a weird I'm telling you, it's LA's fault. It's not my fault. It was like I was trying to get onto one of the freeways, like 101 South or something like that. Yeah, or 110 South. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But the sign was for a different freeway, but that was the on ramp I was supposed to take because it was merging onto the freeway that I was actually looking for. But because that sign, big green sign, white lettering, that only showed me the other freeway, I was like, oh, there must be another on ramp like farther up. So I missed it. But the thing that kills me sometimes, and I don't know why this happens, is like sometimes you'll get like, the maps will immediately be like, okay, now here's your navigation because you obviously didn't take the on ramp that you're supposed to take or the exit or whatever, you didn't turn left when you were supposed to. So it's like, now we're going to, maybe there's not another left turn that gets you there. So like, you kind of turn around.
Right.
Like, that's fine. That happens. But the one I hate is when you realize your mistake where you're like, oh yeah, I've now gone more than 500 feet. And they'll go, proceed to the route.
I'm trying to
I don't know how to. I'm clearly not on it, like make a U-turn. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I very much blew that turn, but proceed to the route. I'm like, I like 100% of the time I'll yell like, you proceed to the route. Not helpful. I don't know how to do that. That is not in any way being helpful to me.
We are complaining about the proceed to the route prompt, which is very unempathetic in its style.
I guess,
and not helpful.
There must be like that must happen. It doesn't happen to me that often, but it must happen when the navigation figures like there really is no other way to do this. Like you're so off course that I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why that happens, but I hate it and I want it to stop.
And for me, I'd be like, where is the route?
Right. I thought I've been doing exactly what you tell me. I obviously did it wrong. Give me a specific task such as turn left or U-turn.
Yeah.
If possible. Okay. Well, all right.
Anyway,
Thank you for listening.
we're done.
I feel
Yes.
better. Yeah. Well, before we go ahead and wrap up, Eileen, we're on the socials. Where can people find us?
We are on Apple Vision Show on both Instagram and YouTube. Please give us your comments on there. We're sharing, snippets of the show, sometimes extra stuff. And just check in with us from now and time again in there. And we'll give you some extras. We try and give you the best stuff. Yeah.
It's good. It's good stuff. And we love your feedback. Thank you, Bede, for writing in. Thanks to everybody who writes in. Feedback at applevisionshow.com is where to send anything that, strikes a chord with you. Anything we talked about on this show or past shows, stuff you'd like to hear more about on a future show. Maybe you want us to review something. Maybe you've got to review something. Maybe something doesn't make sense to you. Maybe you also hate Proceed to the Root. Whatever it is, we'd love to hear from you. And if you are on Instagram and YouTube, and that's just where you hang out and you like our content there, leave us a comment. If anything can apply to a future show, we'll take all of that into consideration as well. We're everywhere. We're everywhere because we know you are too. So, we're all in this together everywhere.
We are. We are.
Us and Apple. That's all you need.
Yeah, that's all you need.
All right. Well, Eileen, this has been a fun episode. Episode 27 in the can. We'll be back with you next week. For those of you who do join our live stream or would like to join our live stream, just a reminder, almost always, and we let you know ahead of time if it changes, but Mondays at about 2 p.m. Pacific time, which is right when the live stream of Daily Tech News Show and Good Day Internet wraps up. We switch over to our stream and you can join us live. And we would love to have you. If you can make it, great. Otherwise, we're always on demand and we will do it all again next week. Bye-bye.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Laminar Rainbow.
So I was while you were talking about the Apple TV stuff, and I looked up Presumed Innocent because I was trying to find the chart when you were saying that Ron said nobody watches Apple TV. I couldn't find there was this chart that I saw that had clearly Netflix in the lead, and then I think it was Amazon, and then blah 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 blah.
Right.
So then I just typed in Presumed Innocent because I thought I would find that article because it was related to Presumed Innocent. What's his face is not coming back. The prosecutor, Skarsgård, or not Skarsgård. What's his name?
Oh no, it is Skarsgård. Not Alexander. It's oh wait.
I'm looking for his name. Where is he?
Yeah.
No, it's not Skarsgård.
No, it's
why is this article not showing me? Not Rusty, but like the other dude. What happened here?
He's been in so many things. He's married to Maggie.
He's been in which is Jake's sister, of course. Oh, Peter Sarsgaard. Peter Sarsgaard says he's not returning to season 2. Well, because I'm assuming it's a whole new story.
I thought season 2 was going to be like True Detective, where it's just like all different people.
That's what I thought, but I don't know why there's so many headlines on this. There's so many headlines 2 hours ago that he said he's not coming back. And it's like, right. I didn't think anybody would come back.
No, because it's going to be a different case.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's like Rusty now would be the prosecutor. Cause like, he's like, well, I don't know what we're spoiling. His job in the original season was a, prosecutor for the district attorney's office. So yeah, we'll just leave it at that. I guess he could continue to be one and
different case,
subsequent seasons. Kind of thing. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but I thought it was great. Whole thing. Yeah.
It was great.
I loved it. And you know what? Like in the season finale, I finally put it together that he was married to Jake's sister. I'm sure everybody else thought of that who knows the relationship, but I was like, wait a minute. It was one of those things like watching the finale. I'm like, hey, in real life, he's married to his sister. Wait, what? don't know why I was so slow with that whole thing. He just doesn't look like Peter Sarsgaard that I've seen in other movies. He's really like
Yeah.
in his like element as that. It's probably a testament to his acting. I didn't think of him as that.
Yeah.
I just thought of
There's a
him as
lot,
that
yeah,
prosecutor.
yeah, he does. Yeah, he's a character actor in the way that he sort of gets absorbed into roles.
Yeah. And I've seen him look, not that he wasn't handsome in this role, but he's looked like a leading man in other roles. And he's not the leading man in this story. So he's a little bit more, I hate to say frumpy, but that's kind of what he was. And so then that's
Yeah.
probably why it took me forever to be like, wait a minute. This is a family show, like a a real family show, you know? But anyway.
He was in the first time I saw him in a movie that I can remember. It was Boys Don't Cry. Remember, starring Hilary Swank, which she got the Oscar for.
Yeah.
You know, based on a true story. He was, you know, kind of like he was a villain in that movie. Like the actor, sorry, not the actor. The character is like a bad guy. But yeah. And I remember being like, God, what a good, like great performance, you know, being, you know, somebody that is not a cool dude in the movie itself, but I've always been a fan of his ever since.
Yeah. He picks some really good roles. You know what I mean? Like he's one of those actors that just, if he's in it, it's probably, even if he's not the lead, it's probably a good show or a good movie. And you probably want to, you know, pay attention. There's people like that just always pick good things. And you're like, oh, they're just really good at knowing or understand. Well, one, they want to obviously want to be a part of it because they, you know, I feel like he's the kind of person, like, even if he reads a script that's amazing, if he feels like he can't contribute or he feels like he doesn't work with any of the characters, he won't do it. He's not going to just take a payday, you know?
Right.
Anyway, I'm reading into it. Maybe he does. Maybe he's just all about the money and I don't know it. I don't really know this guy. I don't really know this guy. I'm just assuming.
Well, I think in general, Sarsgaard and the Sarsgaard Gyllenhaal household probably makes quite a bit of money. So
yes.
the money, they're probably in pretty good shape. I mean, you know, working actors seem to have a lot of work. I mean, Jake is, who knows? I mean, he must really not have to worry about a utility bill.
And like you said, all three of them, you know, they probably don't have to worry. And all three of them have had a lot of success in really good, critically acclaimed, you know, movies and shows. But then as I was thinking that, I was thinking about Jake, and then you mentioned Roadhouse. I was like, was that a payday? Was that he took a payday? Did he need to pay off some debts or something? Like what happened? I mean, you said it was good, right?
I mean, I wouldn't watch it again.
Or he just wanted to say, I'm in my 40s and still in my prime. Look at my body. I got this for one last round.
I mean, Presumed Innocent had a bit of that too, where you're like,
that's
yes, true. Yeah. Like you know, the whole, he does a lot of swimming in the series,
Jake,
which doesn't really have anything to do with the story. So not a spoiler, but you know, the man likes to, you know, do laps in a pool, but you're like, okay, you know, just shirtless. Kind of, you know, it's like, yes, you're in very good shape. I feel like Roadhouse was probably one of these, like, you can capitalize on all this, you know, looks great, looks good, you know, no complaints,
still got it.
Yeah. I don't know. Some people thought Roadhouse was like so great, and
really?
The original movie, I don't remember, like. I know that Patrick Swayze was in the original movie, but and I know I've seen it, but I just like didn't really remember the plot. And you know, it's a very silly movie. It's like almost like I don't know. I mean, lots of fights, but it's sort of almost like choreographed fights. I don't know.
I don't even think I've ever seen it, to be honest with you. What if Jake is just like a huge Patrick Swayze fan? Like maybe this was his tribute or something.
Maybe. Yeah.
You know.
Do Red Dawn while you're at it, Jake. Let's really get in
Dirty
there.
Dancing.
Yeah, come on, let's do it. All of them. Yeah, you could have a short-lived singing career while you're at it. Patrick Swayze had some success there. She's like the wind. True.
Yep.
Great song. Yeah,
redo that song.
Yeah.
Jake, just do it for us, Jake. Please
Just
do it for us.
Yeah. Don't say you're doing it. Just know that the people paying attention will get it.
We
We'll
know.
see
We
you,
know this is
and
in
we will
tribute
feel
to.
seen. Right.
This is not just a payday, that it is in tribute to. Can you imagine if he did? I would freak if one day would be like, Jake Gyllenhaal is going to be in Dirty Dancing, and the soundtrack comes out. And she's like the wind. I would be like,
I remember like
"What
that
is
was like a
happening?"
very like big song.
It was
And I
a big song.
remember-
Yes.
Yeah, like it was like, I don't know if it was like number one, but I mean, it was on the radio all the time. And he was also
Yeah.
just a big deal at that time,
Yes.
very
Yeah.
in demand actor. And like every time I would listen to it, I'd be like, I just can't believe that's him. Because it's really, when you don't see
It's
him,
soft. Yeah.
you just, it was just like, I mean, it's a good song. But
Yeah.
I was like, how is he doing this? Now, like someone who sings and acts is not that big a deal. You have a lot of people who do that.
Yeah.
But I like at the time I was like he and Eddie Murphy, another like
Oh,
guy who,
yeah.
dabbled in music, where I was like, how is he doing this? Don't you
God,
just
what was
pick
Eddie
a
Murphy's
lane
song?
and not do both? It seemed so
Wait.
weird to me.
Wait, Eddie Murphy's song I actually really liked. And not that I didn't like She Was Like the Wind. What was Eddie Murphy's song?
Oh, he had a
Eddie
couple.
Murphy. Party all the time. Party all the
Party
time.
All the Time. Yeah, that's a good one.
I
Yeah.
cannot. Oh man.
He also had a funny song where it was like about putting things in your butt. He was like, like
I forget.
it was just like it was like a nonsensical song, like put a muffin in your butt, put a glass of water in your butt, put a stuffed animal in your butt. I'm not making this up. It's a real song.
Wait, what was it called? What's up with you? Or
probably in your butt.
I can't find it. Wait, somebody chat room, please. What was it called? Oh god, he's had like 3 albums. No, wait, 4. Oh no, because I'm not going to count the live comedy.
Boogie in your butt.
Boogie in your butt. Wait, what album is that on?
I don't know. The album is called Eddie Murphy from 1982. Yeah, so the lyrics, according to what Google gives me, put a bumblebee in your butt, put a clock in your butt, put a big rock in your butt, say put some fleas in your butt, say start to sneeze in your butt, put a tin can in your butt. It's just like, what? I don't even know if this was something that was a radio song or if it was something that was maybe
a Saturday Night Live.
Eddie Murphy.
Was it yeah?
I don't know. I mean, it's on like a solo album of his. Maybe it was just supposed to be some like funny song. Let's see what else is on this album.
Because he was on Saturday Night Live at that time, right? In '82.
Oh,
maybe it was related.
So this.
Oh
yeah. Speaking of things that didn't age well, probably this album. Sounds like
it's not on Spotify.
Quite a bit of backlash from several marginalized groups, let's say.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe the butt song is not a song that I should be promoting. It's not something I've heard.
It's not in the main show. Don't worry, it's not in the main show.
No.
But like, here it is. Like the album is not even on Spotify, but it's on Apple Music. Oh my god, yeah, like the title of the first track. Like we're not going to go there. That's bad.
No,
bad.
We're not. I know. I'm like, oh, whoops. Yeah.
I tried playing it for you, but apparently the sound wasn't coming through.
Well, that's probably for the best.
It's probably for the best.
Forget I said anything. Eddie Murphy, great stand-up, big fan. Delirious and Raw when I was a little kid. My parents never had it, but like, you'd go like to a slumber party or something, and like sometimes people would have like VHS tapes and we loved those, watch them over and over. Mostly because he just cussed a lot. And when you're young, you're like, oh my God, swear words. But I mean, I don't remember which one it was. not like yesterday, but sometime in the last few years, I was just like, I'm just gonna watch some Eddie Murphy. And I was like probably about half of the show, I was like, yep, can't do that joke anymore. Nope, can't do that joke. Oh, I'm uncomfortable.
Wow.
Like, to the point where I was like, I know this was funny. Like, it wasn't just because I was a little kid. Adults thought it was very funny. Very,
Yeah.
very popular stuff. And I'm like, yeah, a great example of times changing, where I was like, I'm like visibly uncomfortable. Maybe I should turn this off. I was alone and I was like, I feel.
Oh, you were even alone and you felt uncomfortable.
Yeah, like it
Oh,
wasn't like
God.
a party, like where we all put it on to laugh. I was just like, I'll watch this for 90 minutes. And I was like, yeah.
If you ever really want to get comfortable with what was used to be on TV, look up Richard Pryor, Dan Aykroyd interview.
Oh,
Okay.
It's a skit they did. I think it was Dan Aykroyd. Might have been Chevy Chase. In fact, I think it was Chevy Chase. They did a skit on SNL, and it is not appropriate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And it was on SNL at the time.
It was on SNL. Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well,
Yep. Richard Pryor and Chevy Chase interview.
I
mean, it's funny. It's amazingly funny. It is hilarious, but it would never make the airwaves today. Ever at all. No way.
Yeah. It's
Zero
a joke
chance.
that reminds you of a bygone era.
Yeah.
Richard Pryor, I remember, again, I was too young to his stand-up was earlier than even, I knew him as it would be a comedian that my parents would say, well, you can't watch Richard Pryor stuff, because it was just, too racy or whatever. But he was in that movie, The Toy. Do you remember that movie?
Oh, yeah. I mean, barely.
It's like a little, well, The Toy probably doesn't age well either, but it was Richard Pryor was paid by some rich family to entertain their little boy who's a terror, and basically he's hired to be the kid's toy. And that's the name of the movie. But that was not like a R-rated movie. It was like Richard Pryor's kids liked the movie because it was they did funny things and the kid had lots of toys. So
and the
I
adults
was always
were just thinking blaxploitation.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what it was. But, again, a lot of nuances are lost at, a young age. But that's the only thing I knew about him. So I was like, why do people think he's so bad? He seemed like a very nice person to me. He's babysitting and,
babysitting.
My first exposure to Richard Pryor was Hear No Evil, See No Evil, or whatever that one with the Gene Wilder.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember anything about that movie, but I remember
where Gene Wilder was deaf and Richard Pryor was blind, and and hilarity ensues.
Right.
Yeah, that was my first exposure to. And then once I got hooked on Carlin, people were telling me, well, Carlin and Pryor were basically two sides of the same coin. And that's when I started watching some of the old Pryor stuff, and holy wow. Yeah, Pryor and Carlin, then Pryor, and then I can't remember. Why am I blanking on his name? Anyway, those are my favorites. They're just all-time greats.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle would be my number 3 comedian of all time.
I'm a big Chappelle fan as well. Well, I'm also a fan of Getting Closer to the AC. So I am going to my recording apparently is not done yet, which is weird.
Well, because we're still streaming.
We got to say goodbye.
And
I think the next show probably wants to log in.
All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thanks you. Bye.
Bye.